Disney just lost their biggest asset for Toy Story 5. Tim Allen, the legendary voice of Buzz Lightyear, has reportedly quit.
Some of it's an attitude. I'm more of a anarchist because I'm a stand-up comic. I don't like anybody telling me what to do.
Throwing the entire project into a downward spiral. This isn't just some minor casting shakeup. This is the heart and soul of Buzz Lightyear walking away. And if Disney thinks they can just replace him and everything will be fine, they clearly haven't learned from their past disasters.
Lately, the left wants to tell everybody it's the we all know this, you should. Stop telling me what to do, you go do it.
Fans are furious. The backlash is exploding. And now everyone's wondering, is Toy Story 5 dead before it even begins?
You want to support stuff that the government should stay out of? You go do it. No one's stopping you from paying more taxes.
But here's what makes this even worse. Disney had already confirmed Allen was working on the film. He himself said he had started recording and was excited about the clever story. So what changed? What made Allen walk away so suddenly? One thing is certain. This wasn't just about scheduling. Something major happened behind the scenes. And knowing Disney's track record of pushing out people who don't fit their narrative, the real reason is probably worse than we think. This isn't the first time Disney has screwed up royally when it comes to Tim Allen. In fact, their track record of bad decisions with him is becoming a pattern. You'd think they would have learned their lesson by now, but instead, they keep digging their own grave. Remember Lightyear? That's where it all really fell apart. Instead of sticking with the man who defined Buzz Lightyear, Disney made the mind-blowing decision to kick Tim Allen to the curb and recast him with Chris Evans. Their excuse? Oh, it wasn't really about Allen. They claimed this was a different Buzz, a real-life version instead of the toy. But come on, we all knew that was a weak cover-up. Because let's be honest, if they really wanted continuity, why not bring back Allen? If it was a true origin story, wouldn't it make sense to have the same voice? The answer was clear. This wasn't about continuity. This was about getting rid of Tim Allen. Disney wanted Allen gone, and it backfired badly. The real reason behind Allen's replacement? Politics. Tim Allen is one of the few openly conservative actors in Hollywood, and that doesn't sit well with Disney's current leadership. Allen has always been outspoken about his views, calling out Hollywood hypocrisy and cancel culture, and that alone was enough to put a target on his back. Disney executives didn't want to deal with him, so they made a calculated move. They swapped him out for an actor who aligned better with their brand. Chris Evans, known for being vocally progressive, was the perfect choice for them. They figured audiences wouldn't notice, or even better, that they would prefer it. Well, that move backfired spectacularly.
It was everything I wanted to do about Santa Claus. And I told my daughter, I said, this is really a Santa Claus movie for the kid and the adults. And if children want to go to it, that's fine with me.
Lightyear was a complete box office disaster. For decades, Tim Allen has been the heart and soul of Buzz Lightyear. Fans grew up with him. His comedic timing, his voice, his delivery, it's what made Buzz so iconic. Replacing him was like trying to replace Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. It just doesn't work. And what did Disney get in return for their brilliant decision? A box office catastrophe. Lightyear opened to a pathetic $51.7 million, one of Pixar's worst openings ever. Instead of being a billion-dollar franchise reboot, it lost Disney money and was completely overshadowed by other summer releases. It didn't even have the cultural impact Disney was hoping for. Instead, it became a joke, an example of Hollywood arrogance at its peak. Disney thought swapping Allen for Evans would bring in a new audience. Instead, it alienated the old audience and brought in nobody. Even die-hard Disney fans didn't care about the film. The story was bland, the characters were forgettable, and worst of all, it just wasn't fun. Fans made it clear, if it's Buzz Lightyear without Tim Allen, we don't want it. You would think, after that kind of embarrassing failure, Disney would have taken the hint, that they'd realize people don't want a Buzz Lightyear movie without Tim Allen. But instead, they're making the same mistake all over again. Now, Toy Story 5 is on the chopping block. Fans were excited when Allen confirmed his return. Finally, some common sense from Disney. But then, just months later, something changed. Suddenly, reports started circulating that Alan had walked away. So what happened? Did Disney push him out again? Was there another creative disagreement? Or is Disney just so stubborn that they refuse to acknowledge that Alan is the heart of this franchise? One thing is clear: Disney is playing with fire. They've angered fans before, and they're about to do it again. But this time, the backlash might be even worse. Because now, Disney doesn't just have a Lightyear problem. They have a company-wide crisis, with box office flops, audience alienation, and billions in losses. And if they think they can afford to lose Tim Allen again, they're delusional. If Disney thought fans would just accept Chris Evans as Buzz Lightyear, they were in for a rude awakening. The numbers don't lie. Lightyear was a catastrophic failure, a bomb so bad that it sent shockwaves through Pixar and left Disney scrambling for answers. Lightyear opened to a disappointing $51.7 million in its first weekend. That might sound decent, but for a Pixar film, it was humiliating. The movie failed to break even, costing Disney hundreds of millions in losses. It was one of Pixar's biggest bombs in history, a total disaster for a franchise that should have been a billion-dollar goldmine. This was supposed to be a massive reboot, a way to reignite the Toy Story brand, bring in new fans, and create a fresh spin-off series. Instead, Lightyear was dead on arrival. So what went wrong? The answer is simple. Disney ignored their audience, and they paid the price. Disney ignored the fans, and paid the price. People weren't just mad that Tim Allen was missing. They were furious that Disney thought they could pull a fast one on them. For 27 years, Tim Allen was Buzz Lightyear. His voice, his humor, his delivery, that's what made the character iconic. And yet, instead of honoring that, Disney decided to rewrite history and pretend like swapping him out wouldn't matter. But it mattered. A lot. Fans felt betrayed. They weren't just disappointed, they were insulted. Because this wasn't just about replacing an actor, this was about removing the heart of a beloved character. And Chris Evans was the wrong choice. He had none of the charm that made Buzz Lightyear special. His performance felt flat, robotic, and lifeless, like a cheap imitation of the real thing. And most importantly, he wasn't Tim Allen. The audience immediately rejected it. They saw this for what it really was, a desperate attempt by Disney to push out Allen and replace him with someone who fit their political narrative. The story was a confusing, lifeless mess. But even if Tim Allen had been in Lightyear, the movie still would have flopped. Why? Because the story was a disaster. The entire premise was a confusing mess. Instead of giving audiences a fun origin story for Buzz Lightyear, Disney turned it into an overly complicated pseudo-sci-fi movie that didn't even feel like it belonged in the Toy Story universe. Fans expected a fun, action-packed, adventurous Buzz Lightyear film. What they got was a dull, lifeless plot that took itself way too seriously, a main character that wasn't even fun to watch, a bizarre, convoluted time travel storyline that confused everyone, a depressing tone that sucked all the joy out of the movie. At no point did this feel like a Buzz Lightyear movie. Instead, it felt like some generic sci-fi flick with the Buzz Lightyear name slapped on top. And then there was the villain, Zurg. Or should we say, Buzz Lightyear. Disney made Buzz fight an evil version of himself. Instead of giving fans the fun, over-the-top Zurg from the Toy Story movies, they turned him into a boring, angsty, self-loathing alternate timeline version of Buzz. Who thought this was a good idea? The political messaging was front and center. And then there was the forced messaging. Instead of focusing on a great story, Disney shoved in politics, and fans noticed immediately. One of the biggest controversies was the same-sex kiss scene. Most audiences don't care about representation if it's natural and well-written. But in Lightyear, the scene felt forced, like it was only there to make a statement. The backlash was massive. Lightyear was banned in multiple countries, including China, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia. This cost Disney millions in lost revenue, money they desperately needed. Instead of admitting their mistake, Disney doubled down, accusing critics of being bigoted instead of acknowledging that they made a terrible movie. And that was the real issue. Not just the kiss, but Disney's attitude. Instead of listening to fans, they acted like they were above criticism. Fans weren't upset about one scene. They were upset because Disney cared more about making a political statement than making a good movie. And once again, Disney refused to listen. Did Disney learn anything? Not a chance. The failure of Lightyear wasn't just a small bump in the road. It was a clear, undeniable message from fans. We don't want a new Buzz, we want the real one. And you'd think Disney would take that lesson into Toy Story 5, but judging by the rumors about Tim Allen walking away, it looks like they're about to make the same mistake all over again. Instead of owning up to their failures, they're pretending nothing happened. Instead of bringing back Allen without controversy, they're playing games behind the scenes. Instead of learning from their biggest flop, they're charging full speed ahead into another disaster. And if they lose Tim Allen again, Toy Story 5 won't just be in trouble, it'll be dead on arrival. At this point, Disney is at war with its own audience. They refuse to admit when they're wrong, and every time they double down on bad decisions, they lose more and more fans. With the way things are going, Toy Story 5 could be Disney's next major flop, and they'll have no one to blame but themselves. But what do you think? Did Disney kill Buzz Lightyear when they replaced Tim Allen? And if Allen really is walking away from Toy Story 5, is there any hope left for the franchise? The worst thing Disney could have done? Make an enemy out of Tim Allen. Because if there's one thing about Allen, it's that he doesn't hold back. After Lightyear flopped, Allen called out Disney's decision, saying it made no sense and that the film had zero connection to the Buzz character fans love. This isn't new. Allen has been at war with Hollywood's cancel culture for years. He's spoken out about how toxic the industry has become, once even comparing it to 1930s Germany because of the pressure to conform. But here's where things get interesting. Allen isn't just another Hollywood actor. He's one of the few major conservatives in the industry, and he's never been afraid to speak his mind. That's exactly why Disney wants him gone. But here's the thing. Allen isn't some unknown actor they can erase. He's a Hollywood legend, and every time they try to push him out, he comes back stronger than ever. If you need proof that Hollywood has been trying to erase Tim Allen, look no further than Last Man Standing. Back in 2017, ABC canceled the show despite it being one of their highest-rated sitcoms. The real reason? Allen's conservative views. Fans immediately called out the network for blatant bias. But guess what? Allen had the last laugh. Fox revived the show, and it ran for 3 more successful seasons. The message was clear. Audiences love Tim Allen, no matter how hard Hollywood tries to cancel him. ABC tried to claim it was just a business decision. But let's be honest, nobody was buying that excuse. They just didn't want to admit they pulled the plug on one of their biggest hits because it didn't fit their narrative. And yet, just like clockwork, fans showed up and proved them wrong. This is why Disney is making a catastrophic mistake with Toy Story 5. The second news broke that Tim Allen might be out, fans went nuclear. Social media exploded with backlash, and the message was loud and clear. No Tim Allen? No Toy Story 5? People are already calling for a boycott, just like they did with Lightyear. And if Disney thinks they can sneak in another recast, they're delusional. Fans don't want a new Buzz Lightyear, they want the original. But here's what makes this even worse for Disney. The backlash isn't just coming from Allen's supporters, it's coming from lifelong Toy Story fans who have never been politically involved in this debate. Even people who don't care about Hollywood's woke versus anti-woke battle are furious, because this isn't just about politics, it's about legacy. Buzz Lightyear is Tim Allen, and Disney trying to separate the two is a massive slap in the face to fans. And if Disney ignores them again, they might be walking straight into one of the biggest boycotts they've ever faced. Right now, Disney is in crisis mode. Their box office numbers are tanking, their Disney Plus subscriptions are falling, and they've lost billions in recent years. Yet somehow, they keep making the same mistakes, pushing forced messaging while ignoring what their audience actually wants. They killed Lightyear, they ruined Star Wars, and now, they might be about to destroy Toy Story 2. But let's talk numbers, because the financial disaster speaks for itself. Lightyear barely scraped together $200 million worldwide, a pathetic number for a Pixar film. The Marvels became one of the biggest superhero flops of all time, costing Disney hundreds of millions. Disney Plus has lost millions of subscribers in the past year alone. How many more failures does Disney need before they wake up? At some point, even their most loyal supporters are going to turn their backs on them. Just when you thought things couldn't get crazier, Tim Allen dropped a bomb on Twitter. He posted, "Who is the face of woke? Do wokies have a clubhouse in someone's backyard?" And just like that, the internet exploded. Hollywood elites mocked him, but his fans rallied behind him. The tweet racked up over 40,000 likes, proving one thing: people are sick of Hollywood's hypocrisy. But what really made this moment interesting? The reactions from major celebrities and influencers. Hollywood elites like Patricia Arquette mocked him, while others like comedian Marshall Warfield tried to humiliate him publicly. Yet despite all the backlash, Allen didn't back down. He simply sat back and watched the chaos unfold, knowing full well that his audience was standing by him. This is why cancel culture doesn't work on Tim Allen, because he doesn't play by Hollywood's rules. With Tim Allen gone, what's left of Toy Story 5? Disney already lost credibility with Lightyear, and now, without Allen's voice, humor, and heart, this movie is DOA. Recasting him again would be a death sentence for the franchise. Fans won't accept it. They already rejected Chris Evans, and they won't let Disney get away with it twice. And let's be real, do we even need a Toy Story 5? The last movie wrapped up the story perfectly. This sequel feels forced, like Disney is desperately trying to squeeze more money out of the franchise. But without Allen, that's not just a bad idea. That's a financial catastrophe waiting to happen. Here's the harsh truth. Disney cannot afford another failure. They've already taken too many losses, and fans are running out of patience. If they let Tim Allen walk away and try to replace him, they're all but guaranteeing Toy Story 5 will bomb. So the big question is, will Disney wake up and fix this mess? Or are they about to destroy yet another beloved franchise? Because at this point, Disney is at war with its own audience. They keep making the same mistakes, and every time they double down, they lose more fans, more money, and more respect. This isn't just about Tim Allen. This is about a company that refuses to listen to the people who made them successful in the first place. So what do you think? Should Disney beg Tim Allen to return? Or is Toy Story 5 already doomed? Let me know in the comments.